I went to my husband's law firm to consult about filing for divorce, only to catch him in the waiting area, gently holding the woman he never forgot. One of his colleagues gave me a friendly explanation. His fiancée's been a bit emotional lately. They have been all over each other around the office. I gave a faint nod, then calmly pulled out my phone and began recording and taking pictures. After 3 years of marriage, I had finally accepted the truth. I could never warm Sebastian Whitmore's heart, so I chose to walk away. When I later sat across from him at the negotiation table with my lawyer beside me, Sebastian insisted that I leave the marriage with nothing. He had clearly forgotten how my entire family had supported his rise in the legal world of a city, how we had sacrificed to help him build everything he now took for granted. I laid the evidence on the table and asked with a calm voice, "Does Whitmore Associates want to risk a criminal sentence for bigamy?" Chapter 1. It was pouring in a city, the kind of rain that soaks through every layer. I braved the storm, carrying a thermos of soup meant for Sebastian. It had been simmered all morning by his mother and packed with herbs to nourish his health. But I was stopped at the front desk by a polite receptionist. "Excuse me, miss, without an appointment, you cannot go upstairs." I was caught off guard. Sebastian and I had never announced our marriage. Not a single person at his firm knew we were married. Even though I had carefully shielded myself with an umbrella, the rain had already soaked through parts of my clothing. Damp strands of hair clung to my cheeks. I caught sight of myself in the glass wall beside the reception desk, soaking wet and pathetically out of place. I did not explain. I did not want to embarrass Sebastian. Instead, I pulled out my phone and called him. No answer. Probably in a meeting. I sent a message and took a seat in the lobby, thermos in hand, waiting. This soup, filled with good intentions and care, was from his mother. I could never quite bring myself to reject such kindness. Then I heard it. "Mr. Whitmore." I turned. The receptionist was confirming a schedule with Sebastian, who had just entered. I should have stood up and greeted him. That was what any wife would do, but something held me back. He had his arm around a woman I recognized. Ella Barnes, his friend of 10 years, his so-called first love, the woman whose name had hovered around us from the moment we met. The office air conditioning was turned low. Cold air slipped through the damp fabric of my clothes, settling deep into my bones. I stood frozen, watching as he walked away with Ella, holding her close, shielding her like she was made of glass. The receptionist finally remembered me. She looked toward Sebastian as if to call him back. I shook my head and said quietly, "I'm sorry, I must have the wrong law firm. It's not this Whitmore." Then I turned and left. I forgot my umbrella, clutched the thermos tightly in my arms and walked straight into the rain. Outside, Sebastian stood like a gentleman, holding the umbrella over Ella as he helped her into the car. The tenderness on his face was something I had never once seen directed at me. I watched them laugh in the front seats as the car pulled away and disappeared into the street. I walked over to the nearest trash bin and threw the thermos inside. Then I went home. When I arrived, soaked from head to toe, his mother looked at me in shock and asked question after question. I gave vague answers and went straight to the bedroom. After a long, scalding shower, I wrapped myself in a blanket and curled up in bed, letting the tears soak into the pillow beneath my cheek. Sebastian and I had been married for 5 years, and in all that time, Ella had never been far from his life. Always under the label of old friend, always appearing at just the right moments. 2 years ago, Ella got married. I had thought maybe, just maybe, we were finally past that chapter. But it turned out they had never really ended. Their so-called friendship had never once respected any boundary. That night, long after midnight, Sebastian came home. He lay down beside me. He smelled faintly of alcohol and of a woman's perfume. I sat up and looked at him. "I went to your office today. I saw you with Ella." He did not even open his eyes. "She is getting divorced," he said. "She came to consult with me about the process." That was all, a brief, indifferent explanation. He never asked why I had gone. He never asked if I had waited. He never noticed the soaked clothing or the cold soup. Ella's needs would always come first, and I, because I loved him, was expected to accept that. I tried to hold in my tears. I wanted to ask more, to say more. But the only response I received was the sound of his steady, heavy breathing. He had already fallen asleep. Early the next morning, Sebastian stood in front of the mirror, carefully knotting his tie. His phone sat on the counter nearby, on speakerphone. "Hey, Whitmore," came a familiar male voice through the line. "It's my birthday today. Why not bring your wife out to celebrate with us?" It was one of his close friends calling. I thought for sure he would decline, but to my surprise, he said yes without hesitation. Breakfast was quiet, as usual. The only sound was my mother-in-law gently nagging us again about having a child. Sebastian responded with his usual charm, saying all the right things to ease her worries. He had always kept up the image of the dutiful son. Just before he left for work, I gathered the courage to ask him, "Sebastian, can we talk tonight?" He was pulling on his shoes, distracted. "Got to work late at the firm. We can talk when I get home." The front door closed softly behind him. He did not even glance in my direction. That evening, I sat alone on the sofa, waiting for him to return. I was ready to have a real conversation. If this marriage was going to keep going like this, me doubting everything, walking on eggshells, I would lose my mind. I needed to know what he wanted from this relationship. If he truly no longer wished to continue, I was ready to set him free. By 8 o'clock, I recalled the call he received that morning. Something about it tugged at my thoughts. A strange suspicion crept in. I called Sebastian. It rang for a long time. Just as I was about to hang up, the line finally connected. But it was not his voice I heard. It sounded like the phone had been left in a pocket and answered by accident. "To Sebastian and his lovely bride-to-be, may your marriage be filled with joy and beautiful children. Oh stop, you're too much. And happy birthday to you too," came a cheerful woman's voice. It was Ella. "I cannot believe Sebastian and I are finally getting married. You all better come to the wedding." "Of course we will. You've been together for 10 years. It's long overdue." "Yeah, we're sitting at the head table. We're the witnesses of your love story." My chest tightened, my hand trembling as the phone slipped from my lap onto the sofa. I slowly reached out and turned on the speaker. Laughter and cheers spilled from the phone. Beneath it all, the truth I had been trying so hard not to see. By the time the call ended, my face was wet with tears. I had thought, maybe Sebastian only agreed to bring me because he was trying to keep up appearances for his friend. I never imagined the bride they were toasting was not me. But Ella, they had already gone public, and here I was, the woman holding the marriage certificate. Suddenly looking like the other woman in their story. Back when Sebastian had just graduated, he interned at my father's law firm. He told me it was love at first sight. I could not resist his charm. We got married quickly. But just 1 month before our wedding ceremony, my father was killed in a tragic car crash. Revenge, they said, from an old case. The firm closed down soon after, out of respect and grief. Sebastian and I never held a wedding. When the mourning period passed, I mentioned it twice. Both times, he brushed me off, saying work was too busy. Looking back, that was when he had already grown tired of me. Or perhaps, he never loved me at all. Maybe he was just after my father's reputation and influence in the legal world. Marrying me gave him the network he needed. And in just 3 short years, he used those connections to climb his way into the top law firm in the city. The thought made my head throb. I took some medicine and lay down, trying to rest. Then, a notification from my local newsfeed popped up on my phone. I clicked it without thinking, and instantly regretted it. It was a post from Ella on social media. 10 years of friendship, and I'm so lucky love stayed by my side. The photo showed a group of close friends gathered around a smiling couple locked in a warm embrace. Sebastian's smile was soft and sweet, full of affection that seemed to shine right through the screen. Affection I had never seen before, not even when he was courting me. Not even when I thought we were in love. That was when I finally understood. Love, or the absence of it, is always obvious. I looked up at the wedding portrait hanging on the wall. The smile on his face in the photo suddenly felt so hollow. My chest ached, tight with emotions I could not name. I stood up, took the photo off the wall, grabbed a pair of scissors, and shredded it into pieces before tossing it into the trash. That night felt endless. I did not sleep, and he did not come home. When the first light of dawn slipped through the curtains and touched my face, I already knew what I had to do. The bedroom door creaked open, and in walked Sebastian. His face worn and tired, he did not seem interested in offering any explanations. After saying a couple of perfunctory words, he turned straight into the bathroom to wash up. But today, I did not feel like waiting in silence. I called after him. "Sebastian, wait." I need to talk to you." He turned around, dark circles under his eyes. The kind that spoke of sleepless nights. His gaze was weary, filled with irritation. He assumed I was going to question him. So he began explaining, "It was a friend's birthday last night. I had too much to drink." I cut him off, my voice quiet but clear. "Sebastian, I want a divorce." He froze. For a man who could argue cases with ease and eloquence in any courtroom, the great attorney from Whitmore Associates suddenly could not find a single word to say. This was the second time I had asked Sebastian for a divorce. The first time was last year. It had been our wedding anniversary, a day I had spent weeks preparing for. I had planned something big, a surprise I thought would change our lives. I remember it vividly. That night, there was a candlelit dinner, fresh flowers, warm embraces, and soft kisses. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to believe in the illusion of love, just as I wrapped my arms around his neck. Ready to whisper the news that I was pregnant, his phone rang. It was Ella. Like a forgotten toy, I was pushed aside. "Jessica Johnson, stop this. Ella is in danger. I have to go to her." "No, wait," I pleaded. "It is our anniversary. You promised to be with me. I have a surprise. Something important I want to tell you." I clung to his arm, unwilling to let him go, because something inside me knew, if I let go, he would never truly belong to me again. Sebastian tried to calm me down. But the phone rang again. Frustrated, he shoved me away. He did not push me hard, but I lost my balance. I fell, hitting the corner of the table, the sharp edge jabbing into my lower back and stomach. He glanced back once but left anyway. That fall caused me to lose the baby. After that, I asked for a divorce. In response, he brought his mother over to care for me during my recovery. She was a kind-hearted woman, a gentle soul from the countryside who treated me like her own daughter. She held my hand and promised me again and again that Sebastian would never make the same mistake. She even said if he did, she would disown him. So I shelved the divorce. I believed her. But now, I was not sure Sebastian could still live up to the promises his mother made on his behalf. Sebastian stood in the doorway, frustration rising. "Jessica, I already explained. Ella only came to me for legal advice on her divorce. It was not what you think, of course." He still chose to play the part of the noble man. I nodded. "This has nothing to do with Ella. I just no longer want to live this life with you." He did not believe me. He thought I was throwing another tantrum. Without a word, he turned back into the bathroom and shut the door behind him. I decided I would handle the divorce through a lawyer. I did not want to face his mother's earnest eyes or Sebastian's silver tongue again. "Hello, miss. We meet again. Do you have an appointment with Mr. Whitmore today?" The receptionist, the same one from a few days ago, greeted me with a polite smile. I shook my head. "No, I am here for a consultation. Regarding a divorce case." She smiled again. "Of course. Would you like to schedule the consultation with Mr. Whitmore?" It was my first time stepping into the firm's interior as a client. The receptionist led me down the hallway. As we passed by Sebastian's office, I noticed the door was slightly ajar, and from inside came the faint sound of sobbing. I paused. The receptionist, mistaking my hesitation, leaned closer. "Mr. Whitmore's calendar is booked solid. Appointments usually require 6 months' notice, but we have a highly capable attorney, Mr. Chen, who specializes in divorce cases. Would you like me to connect you with him?" I nodded. I had never intended to hire Sebastian for this. After all, how could someone be both the plaintiff's attorney and the defendant? Mr. Chen was professional. It did not take long for him to gather the details and outline a fitting divorce plan for my situation. As he walked me out, we passed Sebastian's office again. The scene inside was unchanged. The sobbing continued. Mr. Chen chuckled as if it were no big deal. "Looks like Mr. Whitmore's fiancée is having another outburst. Even the coldest men have to learn how to soothe someone eventually. No surprise there." I nodded, pretending to be confused. His fiancée? But I heard Attorney Whitmore is already married. One of the assistants nearby chuckled and explained, "They are not married yet, but they live together." "You must have misheard." Another lawyer walking past joined in with a grin. "Yes, they are supposed to tie the knot by the end of the year. Us single folks are drowning in all their lovey-dovey displays at work." Someone added with a laugh, "That fiancé of his really has him wrapped around her finger. Attorney Whitmore is completely henpecked." While everyone was distracted, I quietly raised my phone and snapped 2 photos. Later that evening, I began going through the property documents as instructed by Attorney Chen. This apartment was actually purchased by my father before he passed away. At that time, Sebastian was still a nobody, a struggling junior lawyer with no savings. My father paid the full amount for our marital home and generously put both our names on the deed. This part would be tricky. I never intended to take advantage of Sebastian when it came to money. I only wanted what rightfully belonged to me. I retrieved my old savings card and headed to the bank to check the account statement. The clerk printed out the balance and handed it to me. It was empty. I was stunned. Completely empty. It was outrageous. Sebastian had clearly been scheming behind my back, keeping secrets, and preparing for this all along. That night, Sebastian returned home from work and, surprisingly, acted unusually affectionate. I was sitting on the couch watching TV when he came over and gently ran his hand along my back. His sudden touch made my skin crawl. Feeling uneasy, I excused myself and slipped into the bedroom, but he followed me inside and pushed me down onto the bed. He began to kiss my neck slowly, carefully. Once upon a time, I might have welcomed his affection, but now, I only felt disgust. He sensed my stiffness and pulled back, looking down at me. "Jessica, what is going on?" "Sebastian, I want a divorce. What do you think you are doing?" He frowned. "Stop overreacting. I know I have been busy lately and maybe a little distant. Let us have a child, that way you will not feel so bored or lonely." I let out a cold laugh. "So, it is your mother again. She is pressuring you to have a grandchild, and now you are crawling into my bed." His expression darkened. "Jessica, must you say things like that?" I pushed him off and sat up. Did I hit a nerve? Stop wasting both our time. His frustration boiled over. He pinned me down and kissed me roughly. I bit down hard on his lip until it bled. "Get off me, now. This is marital duty," he shouted, "and what you are doing right now is against my will." Just as we reached a boiling point, his phone rang. I did not need to guess. It had to be Ella. For once, I was grateful for her perfect timing. Sebastian answered the call, then immediately grabbed his coat and walked out the door. His mother called after him twice, and only then did he mutter something vague about work at the law firm. She turned to me with a concerned look and asked if we had been fighting. I did not deny it, but I also did not want to burden her with the details. Over the next 2 days, I quietly arranged everything and made plans to return to my hometown for a break. After my father passed away, my mother had moved back to the countryside to live with my grandmother. I bought a plane ticket home, and just as I was finishing packing, my mother called. "Jessica, how have you been lately? Your grandma and I have been missing you." Her voice was as gentle as ever. In the background, I could hear Grandma's faint cough. My eyes welled up with tears, and I could barely speak. "I miss you both too, Mom. I am coming home tomorrow." "That is wonderful. I will go to the market with your grandma and buy everything you and Sebastian like to eat." I quickly interrupted her. "You do not need to. He is not coming." There was a pause on the other end of the line. After a moment, she spoke again. Gently. "Jessica, did something happen between you two?" I knew I could not hide it from her, so I told her the truth. "Living with him has become too exhausting. I am going to file for divorce." I braced myself for her to be upset or try to change my mind, but instead, her voice came back strong and supportive. "Whatever you decide, I support you. From the very beginning, I could see you were the one holding that relationship together. I never wanted you to carry all that weight alone. If you want a divorce, your grandmother and I are behind you." My throat tightened. After all these years, my mother had seen everything. And yet Sebastian never noticed how hard I tried. 10 minutes before boarding, my phone rang again. It was Attorney Chen. He was clearly beating around the bush, stammering through vague comments about divorce arrangements. I was rushing to board my flight, so I cut him off bluntly. "Just get to the point." Then he said, "Miss Johnson, your husband, his attorney Whitmore." I answered without hesitation. "Yes, that is correct." Earlier that morning, I had sent Sebastian's address and phone number to Attorney Chen and given him full authority to handle everything. There was a rustling on the other end of the call, and then a familiar voice came on, deep, tight with barely restrained anger. "Jessica, what is this supposed to mean? You walked into my firm and hired them to handle our divorce." I had no intention of engaging with his outburst. I was done with all of it. "Sebastian, you lied to me day after day. You hid assets. Schemed to leave me with nothing. So of course I found the best law firm in a city to represent me, and now I am telling you, seriously, I want a divorce, and yes, I want you to walk away with nothing. I ended the call, sent a quick text to Attorney Chen, and turned off my phone before heading straight to the boarding gate. My message was simple: Attorney Chen, I trust your professionalism. I am sure you will handle this case with objectivity. It should be clear, even to a rookie lawyer, what matters more, a casual colleague relationship with Sebastian or a multi-million-dollar divorce case with commissions worth tens of thousands. I was confident Attorney Chen would do his job right. As I walked out into the arrival hall, I spotted my mother and grandmother waving at me from a distance. It had only been a year since I last saw them, but Grandma's hair had turned even whiter, and her back had curved just a bit more, still. Her face lit up with the same gentle, loving smile. My nose tingled, and I hugged them both tightly. These past few years, I had poured all my energy into Sebastian and had neglected the two women who loved me unconditionally. Our family home was an old, modest villa, a little worn down by time, but my mother had filled it with warmth. The courtyard overflowed with blooming roses, their fragrance filling the air. A cool early autumn breeze lifted the sheer curtains in the living room. Just then, Little Fortune, my dog, ran to my feet, wagging excitedly, brushing against my legs. I picked him up and lifted him high. He responded with happy licks on my hand. Little Fortune had once lived with me, but Sebastian had allergies. Just a bit of dog hair would send him into a meltdown. We had even argued about it once, but in the end, I compromised and sent my pup back to the countryside. I kissed the top of his head and whispered, "I'm sorry, I still haven't lived the life I hoped for." He tilted his head as if he sensed my sadness, then spun in circles and rolled on the floor trying to cheer me up. I smiled and patted his little head, a flicker of warmth rising in my chest. "Jessica, come wash your hands. Dinner is ready," my mother called from the kitchen. The smell of homemade food filled the air. Little Fortune darted off ahead of me, eager as ever. Over dinner, neither my mother nor my grandmother mentioned Sebastian. They only asked me gently about my plans. I curled up next to my mother and said playfully, "No plans for now, I just want to spend time with you both." Grandma stroked my hair with a smile. "My sweet girl, if you want to stay with me forever, I'll use my pension to take care of you." Later that night, when I turned my phone back on, a message came in from an unfamiliar number. "Hello Jessica, this is Ella. Please do not misunderstand my relationship with Sebastian. He is only representing me in my divorce case. That is why we have been in frequent contact lately. I hope you will not take it the wrong way." The irony of her explanation made me laugh. I replied by sending her the photo I had taken that day at the law office, the one where she and Sebastian were embracing ever so sweetly. I wrote, "Miss Barnes, I do not misunderstand. But that does not mean others won't." Within seconds, she called me. Gone was the sweet, innocent tone she usually used. She chuckled softly, her voice now laced with mockery. "Jessica, I thought you did not know how to speak. Turns out you do. For all these years, Sebastian never acknowledged you publicly. You swallowed it down, and now, you are finally done playing the quiet wife." I did not argue. I said calmly, "You are right, I no longer plan to endure this. I will make room for you to take over the title of Mrs. Whitmore. But even if I handed it to you right now, would you even be able to take it?" There was a short pause on the other end of the line before she replied, "You do not need to worry about that. I will be divorced very soon." "Then I suggest you hurry up and get Sebastian to sign the papers. If this drags into a courtroom, it will not be a good look for either of you." A week after returning home, I saw Sebastian again. It was early autumn. He stood just outside the garden wall in a black trench coat, smoking and talking on the phone. For a moment, the silhouette of his back overlapped with the memory of the young man I once loved. I remembered him at 22, freshly graduated, confident, brilliant, with a boyish charm beneath his scholarly manner. He had risen from a poor mountain village to attend the best university in a city. People admired him. They called him a self-made man. If I had the chance to go back in time, I probably would not have been able to avoid falling for that version of him either. But time had worn away the light of that young man, revealing someone I no longer recognized, someone who left me cold. It took me 5 years to see clearly who I had been loving. And thank heaven it was only 5 years. Had it been 50, I might never have had the strength to walk away. Sebastian finished his call and turned. When he saw me, he stubbed out the cigarette and looked at me with his usual cool expression. He walked over and reached out to embrace me. I stepped back, and he stopped where he was. "Jessica," he said, "can we talk?" I agreed. We sat in his car. I did not want him upsetting my mother or grandmother inside the house. "Jessica, why do you want a divorce?" he asked. I let out a short laugh. "Sebastian, if that is the kind of question you are going to ask, then there is no point talking." I reached for the door handle to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. "Is it because of Ella?" "I told you, she is just a friend. I have explained this." I had had enough. I shouted at him. "A friend? Do your friends call her your fiancée? Do your co-workers introduce her as your future wife? You two have not even finalized your divorces, and yet you are already playing house together. Even the security guard says the two of you are the most loving couple in that entire apartment complex. What more is there to explain?" His grip loosened instantly, like he had touched a live wire. He stared at me in disbelief. 188 Chengan Road, Building 7, Unit 302, does that ring a bell? Yes, I had followed him, on the advice of my lawyer, Attorney Chen. If we wanted to push for a divorce settlement that left Sebastian with nothing, we needed proof of bigamy, and now, I had it. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. His voice was rough when he spoke. "She said her husband would get violent when drunk. That is why I rented her a place to stay. It is not a love nest, whether it is or not," I said coldly. "It is no longer my concern. Just sign the divorce papers. I only want what is mine. This agreement does you more good than harm." "No," he snapped. "I am not divorcing you, Jessica." I ignored the pain in his eyes. I opened the door and stepped out. He hurried after me, trying to say something more. But I stopped at the doorstep and did not turn around. "If you take one more step," I said quietly, "tomorrow our marriage certificate will be published on the homepage of your firm's website." He stopped. The next day, I sat down across from Ella Barnes for coffee. It was the first time we had met face to face. She was no longer as aggressive as she had been over the phone. But the first thing she said still stunned me. "I am pregnant. After my husband found out, he refused to divorce me." I raised an eyebrow. "And why are you telling me that? Because the child is Sebastian's?" I was not surprised. I simply unlocked my phone, turned on the recording app, and waited for her to continue, like I was watching someone else's drama unfold. "So, what is it you hope I will do, Miss Barnes? Divorce Sebastian?" She said. "I would love to," I replied, "but he wants me to walk away with nothing. That is something I will never agree to." "I can make up the difference," she offered. "As long as you divorce him." I tapped the rim of my coffee cup thoughtfully, then looked up and asked, "Miss Barnes, how much exactly are you prepared to pay? Sebastian is worth millions now. Are you prepared to match that? From what I know, your husband is just an average salaried man. How much could you even get in the divorce?" Ella's voice dripped with disdain. "You might as well use that child to pressure Sebastian. If he takes a step back with me, I will take one with you." When I saw there was no reasoning with her, her smug expression already tinged with frustration, I stood up, paid the bill, and left without another word. Shortly after, Attorney Chen contacted me. He said Sebastian was willing to agree to a private mediation session. I agreed immediately and booked the earliest flight back to a city, determined to end this once and for all. At the negotiation table, Sebastian sat across from me. Composed as always, he agreed to the divorce and to a 50-50 split of all marital assets. I looked at his politely indifferent expression, and for a moment, I could not help but laugh. "Attorney Whitmore," I said slowly, "you diverted assets, and now you still want half the property. Is this your idea of fair negotiation?" He replied flatly, "There was no diversion. I used those funds to pay off debts. My mother took on a lot of debt raising me and supporting my education." Without a word, I slid a stack of photographs and a digital recorder across the table. His gaze fell on the top photo, and his face immediately tightened. The first image was of him and Ella, locked in an intimate kiss. I pressed play on the recorder. One by one, voices came through, testimonies from his colleagues, from neighbors in their apartment complex. All of them confirmed that Sebastian and Ella had been living together as husband and wife for quite some time. "Attorney Whitmore," I asked quietly, "are you prepared to face charges of bigamy?" I had not yet sent these recordings and photos to Attorney Chen. I trusted his professionalism, But I could not trust Sebastian's character. His face paled. The man who had always appeared calm and in control now looked visibly shaken. Attorney Chen seized the moment, calmly advising Sebastian to settle the matter privately. If these materials made it to court, the damage to his career and reputation would be irreversible. Sebastian, I said gently, almost with pity, I am not asking for much. Do not forget who helped you rise from an unknown intern to where you are now. His hands clenched into fists. After a long silence, he finally gave in. When he signed his name on the papers, it was over. We split everything equally. The house went to me. I only took what was rightfully mine. That house had been a gift from my father, and I would never let it fall into someone else's hands. As we were leaving, Sebastian asked if I could hold off on telling his mother. I agreed, but only 2 days later, I received a call from the hospital. Sebastian had been injured and needed a legal guardian to sign for surgery. I replied calmly, we are already divorced. Please contact his fiancée. Half an hour later, my former mother-in-law called me in tears. Jessica, Sebastian is hurt. He is covered in blood. I am so scared. Can you come, please? I do not know what to do. Her voice trembled, full of panic. I hesitated, struggled with my emotions, and in the end, I went. She had always treated me kindly, and I could not bring myself to turn my back on her completely. At the very least, I owed her a proper farewell. And the truth, outside the operating room, I saw her sitting alone. That once proud woman now looked smaller, older, fragile. When she saw me, she burst into tears. Jessica, did Sebastian hurt you? They say he was stabbed by Ella's husband. My mind reeled. I stood there for a moment. Then gently said, yes, we are divorced now. I am so sorry you had to find out like this. She hung her head, whispering like a child who had done something wrong. It is my fault. I did not teach him well. Ella broke up with him back in high school because he was poor, but he still fell for her again, and destroyed his whole future. I tried to comfort her. Please, do not blame yourself. This was all his own choice. Just then, Sebastian was wheeled out of the operating room. Still unconscious, I paid his hospital fees, made sure his mother was settled, and left quietly. 2 days passed. I kept thinking about his mother, worried she might be overwhelmed caring for him alone. I called to ask if she needed help hiring a nurse, but no one answered. Concerned, I headed straight to the hospital. Outside the hospital room, I saw that Sebastian had already regained consciousness. His mother, my former mother-in-law, was peeling an apple for him, which gave me some comfort. As soon as she looked up and saw me standing at the door, she lit up. Jessica, come in, come in. I hesitated. I did not know whether I should step forward or turn around and leave. In truth, I regretted showing up at all. It felt like I had meddled where I no longer belonged, but she came over, took my hand, and pulled me gently into the room. Sebastian, look who's come to see you. Jessica. Sebastian turned his head to the side, avoiding my gaze. I figured he did not want me to see him in such a vulnerable state. His mother took the opportunity to scold him, her tone half loving, half blaming. This is your own doing. You let such a good wife slip through your fingers. Jessica still came to visit you. That means she still cares. You cannot treat her like this. Realizing she had misunderstood, I stepped in to clarify. No, it is not like that. I just did not want you to be overwhelmed taking care of him alone. I came to ask if you needed help hiring a caregiver. I paused, then added gently, there is really nothing between Sebastian and me anymore, and please, do not blame Ella. She is carrying the Whitmore family's child. Whatever she did wrong, now is not the time to point fingers. Her face drained of color. She turned to me, stunned. What did you just say? I blinked, surprised by her reaction. Sebastian had not told her. Ever since our wedding, she had longed for a grandchild. After my miscarriage, I still remember her tears, how she made Sebastian kneel before his father's photo all night, accusing him of being unfilial. Seeing Sebastian's displeased expression now, I said a few polite words, then left quietly. Later that evening, she called me. Jessica, she said softly, I have no right to call you again. I just want you to know, this old woman only wishes for your happiness now. After Sebastian was discharged from the hospital, he packed all his belongings and moved out of my house. When we crossed paths again, I casually asked how his mother was doing. He looked down, his voice gravelly. She went back to the countryside. I nodded. It made sense. He had probably hurt her enough to drive her away. A few days later, I visited Mr. Chen at the law firm to settle the remaining legal fees. As he handed me the receipt, he leaned in and lowered his voice, as if sharing a secret. I probably should not be telling you this. But since you are the client, you deserve to know how things turned out. Honestly, what Sebastian did, it is hard to defend. He glanced around before continuing. Everyone here thought Ella was his fiancée. The worst part is, he never corrected anyone. He did not exactly confirm it, but he did not deny it either. That silence, it says a lot. After Ella's husband stabbed him in our office, the upper management used the incident as an excuse to suspend him without pay. Officially, they said it was to give him time to recover, but the truth is, his personal conduct had become too disgraceful. Ella came back recently too, filed for divorce. She is suing directly this time. Her husband beat her so badly she lost the baby. One of my colleagues went to mediate, and even he nearly got punched. I did not act surprised. Instead, I calmly offered the missing piece of the puzzle. It was Sebastian's baby. Mr. Chen's eyes widened, and then he slapped his thigh in realization. No wonder, I kept thinking, no mother would hurt her own child. Her husband must have found out. So that explains it. As I walked out of the law office, I felt lighter than I had in a long time. In the weeks that followed, I interviewed with several companies and eventually received an offer from one I really liked. Starting fresh, throwing myself into work, it truly felt like I had turned the page. One evening, after saying goodbye to my co-workers, I saw Sebastian waiting by the building's entrance. He said he wanted to talk. I refused without hesitation, but he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Annoyed, I snapped, "What do you want? I do not think we have anything left to say." His voice was quiet, almost pleading. "Jessica, could you forgive me?" I gave a half-hearted smile. "Sure, you are forgiven." I turned to leave, but he caught my wrist again. "Then, could we get back together?" he asked. I looked at Sebastian with cold indifference. How could he still have the nerve? No shame, no bottom line. With a faint, bitter laugh, I said, "Sebastian, is it that after trying a life of bills and burdens with your so-called soulmate, you suddenly remembered how convenient I was? That I served you like a king, made your life easy, so now I am the better option? But tell me, why should I ever consider marrying you again?" Sebastian shook his head, trying to explain. "No, that is not it. I realized I truly love you. I was a fool before. I will never find anyone who loves me the way you did. I cannot live with Ella anymore. I used up all my savings paying off her gambling debts from the divorce, and once the money was gone, she started resenting me, said I was useless. She even pushed me to take unethical cases. I refused. The firm warned me, and now I am suspended for a month." I slapped his hand away and glared at him. "So that is what this is about. Serves you right. Sebastian, do not come near me again. You disgust me. If you keep harassing me, I will call the police." Sebastian stood frozen, watching Jessica walk away, her figure fading from view. A dull ache throbbed in his chest. He had lost her for good. This girl who once loved him so deeply, who gave everything for him, who was willing to stand by his side through hardship. He wanted to fix it, but it was too late. Everyone who ever truly loved him had already left. Ella was his first love, the girl who had brought light to his dark high school days. Even after she broke up with him to chase a wealthier man, he still believed he loved her. He thought that was what love was. Then he met Jessica. At first, he looked down on her, a spoiled, privileged daughter of a powerful man. But he needed her father. In the legal world, connections were everything. So for the first time, he compromised his integrity. He pursued Jessica deliberately, and she was so easy to fool. It did not take long before he won her father's trust. Soon, he had risen to the top of Johnson Associates. To further cement that alliance, he proposed to Jessica. She was young, naive, untouched by the world. She could not even tell real affection from pretense. When he proposed, she cried with joy and said yes, never suspecting a thing. Later, a bigger law firm came knocking. The offer was tempting, but conditional. He had to reverse his testimony in a long-closed case. He agreed. Jessica's father was furious when he found out, scolding him for acting without discussion. But the damage had been done. The son of the man from that case was known for trouble. The day after the case was overturned, he drove straight into Jessica's father. It was Sebastian's car that day. The man thought Sebastian was behind the wheel. In that brief moment while Sebastian stepped out, the driver hit the gas and ran down Mr. Johnson. He died at the scene, crushed by guilt. Sebastian never filed for divorce. When Ella came back into his life asking for help with her divorce and whispering promises of love, he was tempted, but he still did not want to let go of Jessica. He thought, without him, Jessica, the delicate flower raised in a greenhouse, would never survive. Even if she found out about Ella, what could she do? He held all the money. Would she really dare turn against him? He had misjudged her. He had overestimated himself and underestimated her strength. Years passed, and still, Sebastian lived with his regrets. Every now and then, he would sneak beneath the building where Jessica lived, just to catch a glimpse of her from afar. She seemed happy now. There was a new man in her life, a man who cherished her. He would show up on rainy days to walk her home, always holding an umbrella above her head and opening the car door with a gentle smile. One evening, Sebastian watched from the shadows as Jessica opened the passenger door. She paused. Inside, resting on the seat, was a bouquet of soft pink roses. She smiled, and Sebastian felt the sting of that moment deep in his chest, because he had never once done that for her. He was just a ghost now, hiding in the dark, a man who had lost all right to approach the rose he once took for granted. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.